Hi, this is Professor Olson. We're looking at your week 3 in progress work for your identity package. And first up, I'm going to look at Sean's. Sean, you've done a great job developing this brand. You've got secondary elements like a wood grain. You're using color in a really effective way. Your assigned color is sort of this lavender color, and you paired it up with some greens and gold, which work really well. Um, so I don't have too much to say about the branding. One thing is about the design. A letterhead is really just a frame for a letter. So it's okay to have some of this stuff in the background, but I would make it much lighter. And you wouldn't have like shapes containing the letter body text. You just sort of want,
Okay, so lighten up the texture and the object.
yes, yes. And I would just keep it kind of simple and clean because you've got great elements in your logo. And you've got this background sort of crackle pattern, which is fine. It's low contrast, so it'll work. But you don't need these rounded rectangles. And try to get regular text like a regular letter to put in there.
Okay, roger that.
Uh, I appreciate you working with text like this lorem ipsum, but it feels like a lot of text. I mean, considering that it's just dummy copy and not anything in particular, it's
Yeah, sorry. When I did it, for whatever reason, when I pulled it up on my computer, it was not recognizing the text that was in there, and then it was not replacing it. So I just drag and drop text in there. That's my bad.
all right. So what you want to do for a business card is look at what a real business card is like and what information it would have. So the person's name and title would be prominent, and then the rest of their, contact info would be there, sort of organized, but like out of the way.
Okay, yeah, I'll swap that up.
But other than that, nice work.
All right, good deal. Thank you.
All right. I think I'm going to pause for a minute. Hey, Julia. It's great to see your work up here. I think you've done a really good job with this. This looks fantastic. I would love, this is kind of a cool shape the way you've got it, but ultimately you could sort of fill the whole page somehow. Maybe it's filled with a color, but that's not what we're talking about this week. This week we're looking at your identity package. So your logo came out good. I'm not a huge fan of changing color in the type. It just sort of debilitates the legibility a little bit. And in terms of color usage, it's great, except this is a food product. It's a cookie. There's no sort of flavor color cues in your palette. I mean, unless it was like sort of a blueberry something, which it isn't. So I would encourage you to maybe incorporate some browns and orange, some cookie colors, toasty warm cookie colors in here somewhere. And then for your secondary element that you've got in here, you've got the YOLO letters as a pattern. I'm not convinced it makes a really great pattern. As a letterhead, this is like quite dark, I would say. You want it to be a little bit, you wouldn't put a color frame around the text of the letter, if you look at what letterhead looks like, it would be just sort of clean, and your information like return address and all that would be maybe on the bottom. It could be on the side, as I showed in examples. Since your logo has this blue, green, and violet, it's not a good contrast with the background. Are you following me, Julia? Yes, I would take, like for instance, for this paper color, you could take a nice yellow, uh, a warm yellow, sort of more in the food arena, and your logo will stand out on that. Your logo itself, you know, um, it has a bit of an alien feel to it because of the color palette. So I know it seems very sort of literal, but maybe the cookie is a cookie color. One thing you're trying to accomplish with your branding is make people want the cookie. And right now there's nothing sort of flavor oriented that gets me wanting this. Are you following me? So break out of the cool colors, throw in a warm color as a contrast, and I think that you'll come up with some cool stuff. For your pattern, um, maybe if it was tightened up a bit, you know, some of the gaps, do you know how to do that in Illustrator? All right. I would try that too, and just see where that takes you. I think you've got a good foundation, so keep going, and I'm sure you're going to get there. All right. I will continue through the rest of the work. Krishana, this is for the recording. So Krishana, you've got the little gummy worms, the pink color, the color palette's working pretty well. You've got your little bear, panda bear, or koala. It looks like a koala riding a worm. There's some craftsmanship issues with this. And I told you earlier, take the type out of the logo icon and set it up like you did in week 2. Like this is the setup. So Sweet Tooth category gummies. When you shrank this down, the strokes got really chunky. I don't know if that's something you want, but one way to get around that is to expand it and outline the strokes so they're shapes instead of strokes, and then they'll scale down. So I think you need to do some work on your logo to fix it up. The pattern is a good idea, but the way it's being used now, it's way too big. And you can shrink that down in the shape. I'll just demo it quickly. So for instance, if I had this shape and it was filled with a pattern, let's fill it with a pattern. You can go to Object, Transform, Scale. And when the Scale dialog box comes up, you can uncheck Transform Objects and just transform the pattern, and you can make it any size you want. So you can make it bigger or smaller so that you can get it to just the point where you want it to work for your business card. I think as you're using it currently, it should be more sort of a texture feel rather than chopped off cropped objects, which is what it looks like now. So you've got the ingredients to make this work. It's just some finessing and craftsmanship. This, by the way, the link needs to be updated or something because it's all fuzzy. Same thing here with this. Your logo is not working well because of the type. So fix that. But you've got everything sort of almost in place. Make sure you give yourself a little margin here. You don't want to have stuff right up on the edge. But if you do those sort of craftsmanship things and tweaking, I think you'll have a good identity package. All right, let's look at Nicholas Capelli's garlic sticks. All right, so you've got this wall, it looks like brick wall, and I would say the same thing that I just told Christiana is shrink the pattern so there's more of it in there, so it's more like a texture. Green breadsticks seem a little off to me. Toasty brown color maybe would be better. The green is okay, the red is okay. You do have a nice brown color here, but you want to put your company information like the return address and stuff and try to make this look like a real letter. Again, I think this pattern just could be tighter. It would work better like that. All right, so we did Sean. Sarah, Pacific Coast Orchards. The artistry of your work is fantastic. This thing is looking great. In terms of color contrast, you've got this sort of vibrating thing. It's like blue and orange, which are complements, and but the values are off. And you could just make this white or this light yellow color. I would just go ahead and make it good contrast. Delete name : title : you'd never have that in a business card. So that's sort of the default. Make the name and title a little bigger. Overall, this is working pretty well. I think you could probably use some darker blue somewhere. See, this works. These trees, they're too high contrast. They should be a color much closer to the background so that they sort of fade in as a sort of texture element. Right now, it's like competing with your logo. And the bear claw, these are all fun ideas, but maybe it's a little too much for a letterhead. And by the way, for everybody else watching, this is what a letter should look like with the address, the addressee, the salutation, all that stuff. The envelope looks good. I wouldn't do this. I feel like that's, maybe it's a wax seal on the back. You create a bear claw sticker. But good work overall. All right. Section 3. Dawn, welcome.
Hello, I'm still having challenge, so I didn't finish it. I'm still working on it, and it's just very challenging to me.
Okay. Well, maybe you and I can do a little one-on-one after the critique today.
Okay, I appreciate that.
All right. So just hang out, and when we're done, you and I'll talk.
Okay.
All right. Who did I miss here? Oh, Eugene. Yeah, this was looking good. Let's see if he did some new stuff.
See, I don't have it up yet, so he can't see it. I gotta turn it on. Okay, let me do my ass.
Okay, Eugene. So this is the same stuff I saw yesterday. So you have my feedback. Let me know if you have any other questions going forward. All right, Brianna. So Olympic Coffee, again, configure your logo type as we described in week 2. The way you've got it, it's going to be really hard to work with. Your logo is all in black or yellow. You need to find the other colors, the other players that are going to work with this. Your icon, you're just sort of sticking it here, hither and yon. You got to sort of figure out how your logo locks up and keep it that way. And then if you have other elements, you want to have other elements beside your icon to work into these items. This all looks squished. This is the inside of the envelope. Really, the pieces you want to design are this, the top front of the envelope, and the back. This is not necessary for the assignment. And since these are linked to InDesign, you should present it from the InDesign template. So do that. But you got to find those other colors that will work with yellow to give you contrast other than black. If you look at this, this can give you some ideas, you know, like this pentagram is quite interesting. You don't have to use the whole thing. You could change up some of it. Hopefully that'll help you get to where you want to go. All right. Christy, Peace Cookies, same thing. Everyone keeps doing this. Don't split your type across the icon. Give it some hierarchy. Peace is the brand, cookies is the category. This is much better configuration, or this. It'd be better if this was all centered, but I wouldn't do it like that. These sort of bubbling up peace symbols is nice, but maybe I would tighten that up So there's more of them and it's a little smaller and maybe doesn't come that far into the letter. You need to put the return address and, you know, like where the company is, all that on the bottom, or somewhere. And then your business card needs the person's information, their name, their title, and their contact info. And then more color. So this is sort of a low opacity kind of pattern. You can do more of a monochromatic. You could add a color for your paper and then have a slightly darker color for the peace signs, and see how that works. And if you start using that consistent paper color throughout all the items, it'll start to tie together even more. And section 3, Nick, yes. Okay, I think we've looked at everybody's work. I'm going to end the recording.